Hey, good afternoon. I'm Pete Bussum, standing in for George today, who is he's on his way to the UK for some CompTIA and some other vendor events. So, we've seen in the US things have gone on, but Europe and EMEA now are really opening up also. So that's a pleasant change. I'm joined by Joel Cahill today. Hello, Joel. But a couple of announcements before we get going. Welcome to MSP Initiative Live. Our podcasts are every Tuesday and Thursday. If you don't know anything about MSP Initiative, go to mspinitiative.com and see all of the great community style events that MSP Initiative does between these great podcasts. There's a lot of great content with channel partners from industry, peers, different subjects like myself for marketing or contracts or different things with Brad Gross. So a lot of great content out there. If you haven't been out there, I encourage you to take a look at some of the past recordings. Maybe you'll find some things that bring interest to you with maybe looking for a new partner or some peer knowledge or even some operational type things that you need going on in your business. Of course, I'll wrap up at the end of the session and encourage everybody to think about the party that's coming in Orlando. Orlando around a major IT event. So if you're going to be in Orlando around or on November 9th, go to mspinitiative.com, click on the menu item that says Community Block Parties, and register for the Orlando party where the All-American Rejects will be playing live at Icon Park with us. And of course, as all the parties that MSP Initiatives does, we have great sponsors. You'll see the page consistently updated with our sponsors as they come online and join in the fun with us. So without further ado, Joel, welcome and tell us. I mean, I got a lot of energy today, right? I only had one cup of coffee. I drank caffeinated for a change. I usually don't drink caffeinated coffee, so I'm on a roll. So Joel, welcome.
Yeah, Pete, thank you. It's great to be here. As a good opener, we're excited to be involved with the MSP Initiative, and I happen to be in Orlando, Florida, which is where our headquarters is. And so we'll be there for that party that you mentioned, and we're really looking forward to it.
That is awesome. I can't wait. That'll be really good to see you and spend some time. But tell us about your organization a little bit and who are you, what you do,
Sure.
I got to be honest. I know relatively little about you guys, but I know the name. But I'm curious what you guys are all about.
Yeah, well, thanks. I love getting to tell our story. We're called Infima, and we do security awareness training. It has become more and more of a hot topic. In fact, you mentioned Brad Gross at the top, and he just had a podcast recently about how security awareness training is required now in a stack. And we can tap on that later. But we do security awareness training. I'm one of the co-founders. We were started back in 2017, and we have a different approach in that we are highly focused on the behavioral science around changing, around security, which means changing behaviors. Myself and my co-founder, we met at University of Florida years ago. We both went divergent paths for a little while. He spent time in protecting our intelligence community with top secret security clearance, and I was spent 10 years as a trader, hedge fund manager, and things on Wall Street. But what that meant is that I had a 10-year education in behavioral science and behavioral psychology. And so we were able to merge that with the cybersecurity knowledge that Kevin has from his background. And we've now got a very vibrantly growing security awareness training platform that is focused exclusively on the MSP community. And it is 100% automated. It allows partners to sign up their clients with 3 clicks. That sounds like an exaggeration, but when somebody goes through a demo, they can see it. But when they, it also changes behavior with utilizing behavioral science. So our passion is to serve this community. We started, Pete, you said you've heard of us, but you don't know much about us, and I totally understand that. Our first conference was a Robin Robbins conference in May of last year. And so we really haven't been in the channel conference scene for very long, but it's going well. We love it. And, that's where we came across MSP Initiative here.
I had to put myself on mute because for some reason, all of a sudden I had this urge to sneeze, and you can't just sneeze once. You gotta sneeze 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So it's interesting. I heard a couple things from you for there, and you said you would talk about it later, but I'm gonna make you talk about it now. You said training is required. Why is training required? Does that play into the insurance questionnaires now? What does that mean?
Yeah, so I appreciate it. We love getting to dig into this because it is we're a small piece overall in the security puzzle for an MSP security stack, but it needs to be automated. Otherwise, you are charging a small amount relative to a lot of your other tools and spending an enormous amount of time on it. So why does it become required? It's the cybersecurity insurance applications, regulators, and even virtually every vendor questionnaire requires it. But interestingly, the way that Brad highlighted it in there is he said, if you have anywhere on your website that you are protecting your clients, that you are security focused, that you come and you sign up with our MSP, you have a higher level of security. Yet you haven't put a single layer of human protection in. You put your firewalls and your an MFA and a lot of antivirus and a lot of the great security tools. And there's some awesome vendors in the space here before it. But his point was, if you do not actually have something in security awareness training, when it comes back to it, you start to put yourself at risk, because you said we are protecting you, but we didn't even take the first step in protecting the human element, as it's commonly called. And so much so that he said, if you do not, if a client will not accept their security awareness training as part of your package, then you actually need to send them a declination notice, establishing that this is something that you have declined, that this is a service that we, as our MSP, believe that it is key that we provide to you.
Interesting. So it's education, knowledge is power, right? Isn't that old commercial, knowledge is power, with all the
That's right.
Education Junction or whatever it was way back when. But it's interesting now that as things continue to push down, we've always talked about education and phishing and all of those things, and there's a level of education with phishing tools and all that. But security awareness training is kind of like back when I was an MSP, just after we had wooden ships and I came into the industry. I'm an old dog in here, right? So, but realistically, I remember when we were first starting to introduce firewalls in the 90s, and people were like, I don't need that. Nobody will do it. And then the firewall became a great spot to say we can control traffic. Now we can filter applications inbound, outbound. Now we can do reputation management inbound, and we can block, and there's all of these features. We can inspect emails coming through the firewall and touch the links and all that. But people don't even know about these things. And who's our worst security risk in any profile, right? Our employees.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
So what is your program? How does it work? What kind of things how do you bring it all about and bring it to a company?
Yeah, sure. So we make it so that it's scarily easy for the MSP to onboard and to deliver the product. We truly believe that we need to deliver a service to our MSPs that is so streamlined and easy that they can effectively just blink and they're delivering the service to their customers. That was actually a thought experiment we went through, where we wanted to create what is the 10-star experience for our MSPs, and we are always working towards that. That was something that we took from Brian Chesky, one of the Airbnb founders, where he said, they wanted to come up with what's the 1-star, 2-star. We already know what a 5-star experience is, but what if we take it to the 10-star experience, and how can we go to that level? And so we're always brainstorming, how do we do that? So what does the platform do? The platform takes care of all of the training needs for your clients, and all of it's consistently phishing every single month, every single user across all of your clients with differing content at different times. And again, you as the MSP, Pete, you're not having to touch anything. You're not having to go and create campaigns for phishing. You're not having to go and pick which training to send it and track who hasn't finished it, and then go back to your phishing and figure out who has clicked, and then go and follow up with each one of those people. Make sure that every phish was delivered to your inbox. We can ensure delivery on those inboxes, and we take care of all reminders for training. And then we put a nice little bow on top, because we are fully automated. Instead of you, Pete, one of your techs having to go and find all the training courses for everybody, we tailor the training for each one of your clients, and put a little this bow on top that's a security awareness training policy, which is an addendum to any other IT policy that you have for that organization. And one of the best examples I like to use of the use of that security awareness training policy is one of our clients, through one of our partners, is a vendor to Bank of America. B of A, as you would imagine, has an enormous vendor questionnaire list. One of those questions was about their security awareness training, and they could say, yes, we have it, but there was a deeper question of what are you doing, to make sure that it was valid. The reason that I like to highlight them specifically is because they are the only customer. Bank of America is the only corporation I know of where the CEO has gotten on an earnings call and said that cybersecurity is the one line item in the budget that doesn't have a cap. So they are spending unlimited money on their own security. So they're also very keenly focused on their vendor security. So back to that vendor questionnaire that is very detailed from them, our client comes to us saying, how do we prove that we've had our security awareness training policy? We said, hey, good news, you've had this security awareness training policy in your dashboard all along. Here's a copy of it, and here's how you can pull it from the dashboard. It was not 2 minutes later that we got the thumbs up. The B of A team saw it, scanned it, said this hits what we needed to do. Because there isn't like a formal regulatory body who is giving the blessing on each set of courses or anything along those lines. It is incumbent either on the MSP or the vendor or somewhere in between, or the end client, to ensure that they're hitting the topics that are required. And for us, we flow down from NIST as the starting point, and then hit your HIPAA, FINRA, SEC, PCI, GDPR, all those. Pete, you're on mute there.
I felt more sneezes coming, so I wanted to protect that. Interesting. I just cued in on one thing there. You said if you're a vendor of, and a lot of times we've been looking at this as a security type thing of getting through the insurance renewal or lower risk of my cyber insurance, but so you're actually seeing this come down from being a vendor of. How far down does that trickle? Does that, is it one layer or?
So it technically should. It technically should go all the way down. And it's interesting. We've had several good examples, several law firms who have come to us, and they're like, you know what, we do have to have this. We looked back, and all of our large clients in their engagement letters have required security awareness training for the last 3 years, and we now have it. But so there's a lot of that people have not acknowledged and not recognized. And in more and more of these vendor questionnaires or requirements for large organizations, is they do require that you push it through to your vendors. So you do hit that third tier, if you will, that third party.
Mm-hmm,
but
right.
There isn't a good way to monitor that yet. So there's the requirement is out there floating, but it is not, to the third party, it's not monitored just yet, until our client, who's the vendor to B of A, does the same thing to all of their clients. But as you know, with the SMB space, that's not something that they're typically going to jump on and take on another responsibility.
So it's pretty much on my honor. I did it as a third tier.
as that, when you hit that third party, exactly. Yeah. You
Yep.
know, obviously after if there's a breach that flows all the way up, you know, somebody's going to go start hunting those things down. But, you know, when we get into the SMB space, it gets very, very hard to, you know, to go and start pushing down another requirement. You know, that said, we make it really easy to actually implement, but yet another requirement is difficult.
Yep. So I'm gonna take a minute here, and we've got some of our regulars here that usually pose some pretty good questions. So I'm gonna ask them all to be able to unmute themselves where they can ask a question if they'd like directly to you,
Awesome.
or join the conversation. And I know a couple of these guys are not bashful, so be prepared.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Hello,
can.
Yeah,
Darren.
so I'll just say we've actually started using this service product, and it's quite good, so I can recommend it uh, compared to what we were using particularly before, which I won't name. It's much better, so definitely take a look at it. It does make things very easy to do this, what's become a critical a critical piece here. So I'm kind of overwhelmed with some other stuff at the moment, but I'll just say that for now. And
That must mean that you're walking on your treadmill. And you're
no,
overwhelmed.
it just is a lot going on right now. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Darren. I had just seen your name come through with I think you'd spoken with Zach. So
Yeah, we have to get a bunch more clients, you know, on the program, but we're working on it. We're gonna have a lot of them, you know, go forward this quarter. So
thank you.
but definitely
Awesome.
definitely recommended.
Thanks, Darren. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I really appreciate that.
So yeah, thanks, Darren. And I hope you can take a deep breath and things settle down for you.
I'm working on it.
So-
Thanks.
So Joel, you know, behavioral science, how does that play into this? What,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of intrigues me. You mentioned AI, behavioral science. Obviously, education and training has something to do with that, but how does that, what do you use? How does that happen?
Yeah. So one of the starting points I really like on this is one of the you know, the godfathers in this, the behavioral science, behavioral economics world, is a guy named Danny Kahneman. He won a Nobel Prize in economics for his work, but it is applicable to everyday life. And one of the things that he wrote in one of his most recent books is you are not the same person at all times. And okay, yeah, like I'm different from when I have an 18-month-old, and I know that I'm different from when I was 18 months old. You know, I've definitely come a long way. You know, but we might be different on Mondays as we are on Thursdays. We might be different after, you know, your spouse has just, you know, yelled at you because you forgot to do something like take out the trash. Your kid just won, you know, a baseball game, and you're really excited. You went out for drinks the night before with the team, and you might be a little bit hazy Friday morning. All of those are different places that you are, and that's just atmospheric, you know, or just something that is external that might drive you to behave a little bit differently. But ultimately, what it is we are saying that this is partially a knowledge issue where you have to say, hey, there's dangerous things out there. It is really dangerous when you're about to go walk across the road. People intuitively, inherently understand that, but in the digital world, people don't have that same feeling, that same recognition of the dangers. So a lot of what we're doing is, and if we want to boil it down to the simplest thing, is, you know, when you're about to go across a road, you don't sit there and you think, all right, what's the stopping distance of that Tesla coming towards me or that 1988 Corolla? Can I make it? I'm going to try to Frogger my way across the street. You know, that would be sort of like actually like boiling it down, trying to be very, very deliberate about studying this, the oncoming traffic in this case, and the analog for us is, you know, do you want every single one of your users going and having to study every single link, every single email, and scanning through it? You want to teach them that those are things to do, but you also want to teach them the safe behaviors, so they're not scanning an email personally for 10 minutes all the time. So you show them when there are times to pull another thing from Daniel Kahneman, when there are times to utilize your system 1 thinking, which is just your rapid thinking, that you reactionary, versus your system 2, which is the more deliberate, slower. We just put up a blog post about this specifically. And what that means is, okay, so I get a LinkedIn invite. I can tell you the knowledge way to do this is to go, I need to validate that it came from LinkedIn. I can actually look at the raw data in the email and make sure that this is a valid link, look to make sure that it goes to linkedin.com and blah, blah, blah. Or I could just go into my browser and type in linkedin.com. It's going to pre-populate because I've already been there. And that's where I'm headed anyway. That is one of those simple, safe behaviors to change. Now, how do you change? How do we do that is through the repetitive nature and the consistent nudging alongside the training. So that's kind of just scratching at the surface a little bit, Pete. But as far as, we see this as, again, a behavioral thing. It's not that any person doesn't know, once you've told them, hey, phishing emails are real, that, hey, somebody could fake a LinkedIn invite. Somebody could fake a Facebook friend request.
Mm-hmm.
But changing your behavior is the key.
Well, we all see those Facebook, everybody's getting hacked, and you get these, hi, how are you? I mean, how generic of a response. It's like nothing that's even close to what somebody would say to you. So I look at that right away and I'm like, nah, I'm just not even gonna look at that one. That's a delete. But
Yeah.
It's interesting to see
Well,
which ones.
I'll give
So
can I give you an example of one that's a little bit trickier, where
sure.
it makes you really kind of, and this came up recently, and where there was, it was a PayPal phishing email that was going out and it was telling people, hey, you're about to be debited $600 for this charge. And naturally, it's not your actual charge, but what they could do is they had actually hacked an actual business PayPal account. So it looked that the email actually originated from PayPal, and the link was real, but it was everything beyond that wasn't. And ultimately, again, if you had just gone, instead of clicking their link, if you had just gone to paypal.com, that's that change in behavior, then you would have gone in there and been like, there's literally nothing here. There is. So, but when you first see it, they trigger all of these, what we call weapons of influence. That comes from a professor in Arizona named Robert Cialdini, who is also one of my favorite behavioral science teachers, thinkers. But he talks about these weapons of influence, and one of them being loss aversion, and the other being urgency. And so we're saying, like, if you don't go do this right now, in the next 24 hours or 3 hours or 90 minutes, whatever, that $600 is going to be debited from your account. So we have that urgency, but then we also have this authority that is sending this email, because it's coming from PayPal, and we naturally assume authorities are trustworthy. If they were trustworthy yesterday, they're trustworthy tomorrow. But Matt Lee is, everybody probably knows Matt Lee. He said something at a conference earlier this year that I just loved when we were just chatting on the side, and he said, "Trust is temporary." And I was like, man, that is so true. But we ascribe a trust level that doesn't include a potential for a breach, or somebody having disguised themselves as PayPal in that sense. And then that last one is loss aversion. It's really interesting. If it said, hey, if you click on this, you're going to get $600, nobody does it. But if I tell you, if you don't click on this, then you're going to lose $600. We are much faster to jump on it. And the point here is that these cyber attackers, they get it. Whether or not they've actually studied Kahneman and Cialdini and the others, they understand it because they've had so many iterations, because their practice is free. They can practice dozens of times a day for zero cost until something hits. And then they go, oh, if I say you're about to lose money, then I'll use more, then I get more clicks. I'm going to use more of those.
It's almost like the psychological, like we play on our kids. Don't you eat that food. I'm going to eat that food, right? Behavioral influence, I would say, almost as a off of behavioral science. But that's interesting. And so, all of this kind of stuff is, you use AI to determine this kind of stuff, or?
So we have some strong machine learning tools where we're basically taking all of the best of the wild in the phishing tool, the best of the wild of phishing templates, and then we're recirculating those for our partners. So our partners aren't having to staff somebody on going and finding all of the best things and going and repopulating them and sending them out and tracking and making sure that they've got delivered to everybody's inbox. Like we take care of 100% of that. And so, I'm always careful to not go too far into saying where AI actually is, because it's used a bit too much. But we have some strong machine learning tools that help us to guide what needs to be pulled in and recirculated through our community. And then, we have internal tags on what those, sort of what the difficulty of those fishes are based on the characteristics.
It's kind of cool. Who would ever think that, like, just small education has turned into such a tool set behind the scenes, right? That it has that kind of stuff built into it to be a little bit smarter than us, or try and trick us to make the wrong move, to learn, and how we learn that, right? Fail forward, right? Learn from a mistake. We didn't really fail if we learned, right? If we learn from our mistake, then we can move forward. And probably we fell a little bit further downstream next time. Hopefully it's not at the critical stage of, like, a wire transfer or something silly like that. But so that's kind of cool. So, we've got some of our MSP regulars out here. What are the challenges that you hear back from MSPs on education and how they present education? What can they do to help them embed this more, other than saying, hey, it's required by your vendors or insurance? What are some advice that you can give them in a growth or a sales process of how they embed this as part of their stack?
That's a great question, because getting people to take training is hard. That is universal about humans. And so we are consistently, when I say we're working on that 10-star experience, that is always a consistent thing where we are always seeing how we can improve. And one of those areas is, how do we utilize behavioral science? And we've even partnered up with some professors at University of Florida in both psychology and cybersecurity, in order to find out, how do we change this? How do we change the tide here? How do we reverse the tide here and make people safer by changing their behaviors? So for an MSP coming in, one of the things is typically most of our partners, it is part of their stack for all new customers, or whenever they are refreshing the stack and refreshing pricing. We're, again, a small piece of the overall puzzle when it comes to cost, but we're now more and more playing an outsized role relative to that cost. And so we arm our partners with white labeled material that's very simple, just to deliver to your point of contact at that organization. When you come in, you need to have an internal person who is a champion of it. If you don't, it's an uphill battle. Otherwise, you as a partner become that internal champion. That internal champion, if it's the executive, if it's at a small organization, or if it just happens to be one of the executives, you share with them their risks, and then tell them how you are mitigating that risks right away with the security awareness training tools that we're delivering, and the security awareness training policy, so that you can stand on that. There's no way that anybody can ever say we've taken care of 100% of all of the risks, but when they can point to a policy and say, this is what we're doing, these are the topics we're training on, and this is when it's happening. Every quarter they're getting trained, every month they're getting fished. Those are very key things for them to understand, that those are meaningful risk mitigators for those organizations. We try to focus on where the positives are. There are the negatives, that if you don't have this, and you check the box on your cybersecurity insurance application that you have it, and you're not doing it, they will come back. I mean, they are declining coverage on, they are declining payouts after attacks now, when they can go back and see nobody was taking training, nobody sent out any phishing emails for the last 6, 9, 12 months. So we remove that, but we're trying not to focus initially on all of the negatives, if that makes sense, Pete. But
yeah, absolutely.
Having an internal champion that can then point to, hey, we're doing this because we need to comply with our security awareness training policy. And it's not hard, guys. It takes 5 to 7 minutes to complete each one of these training courses. It is not a big ask. And then we also have, as part of the platform, within your 365 tenant, you can highlight who is a manager of different groups. So those reports will go automatically to your end client, white labeled, that help you say, because if Pete has 15 people under him, Pete now can go and instead of one person up at the top, at the internal IT is not having to go and hit the 150 people. Pete, one of your tasks now is that you have to ensure that your team is trained. Well, you're their direct report, or they are your direct reports. So you go over to them and like, hey, Bill, Jane, you haven't taken your training. I need you to spend 7 minutes right now. Here's the link, go. That's when you start getting down to people just not taking it. Ultimately, when we've made it easy with a little bit of levity, a little bit of fun in the courses, people typically get them and take them. We have good completion rates, but we will always be trying to get better at that. So I have a decent answer for that question. I hope that one day we're going to have just an amazing answer because we've really cracked the behavioral science of it.
I think once you do that, you let me know, because you'll know way before I will. Obviously, I've learned that you got to manage people by process and not personality, because you'll drive yourself crazy if you try and do it based on personality. Talk about behavioral science, right? So,
Yeah.
So, it's becoming mandatory for third parties. It's got some ramifications on insurance. What are some things organizations can do? Is this a process they need to make mandatory and track? And if you don't do it, it's part of a performance review. What are some tips that MSPs can recommend to get their clients to fully engage and embrace this culture, as you were saying earlier?
Sure. Yeah. So if it comes from the top, you typically have a lot of you have a good performance of the overall organization as far as taking training and phishing. But also what typically happens is those people who are not taking the training also kind of stumble for some of our phishing emails. And we have an intentional process where if you fall for a phishing email, you get phished again. You always have monthly phishing, but you'll get phished again. You'll get more phishing in the coming days. That means that if I click once and then I click again, I'm going to keep getting teed up for additional, and it starts to snowball. Those things are highlighted in all of the reporting that we give to the organizations. It often is sort of an HR demerit, if you will, in the event that somebody continues to click or if they're not taking their training. We are careful in how we tread in that space as far as like advising on how that should go, but we do share some of the models that we have seen. And ultimately, there has to be some oversight, not necessarily punishment, but there has to be oversight where, in the example before, where Pete, you go and tell your 15 different direct reports, hey, you have to take this training. And once somebody has clicked on one of those phishing emails, they no longer have an excuse to not take the training. So that's very, very helpful. As far as the process, we've made it so that there isn't anything additional that the end client has to do, aside from they can get a report monthly and just say, hey, you need to take your training. It really doesn't have to be more than that, because we're only asking for less than 10 minutes of that person's time to click a link and hop into their training courses. And the training courses are built to be informative with a little bit of levity, but also to be intentional. And so there is not a heavy lift that's required at the organizational level. And I think what might be helpful for us is to talk a little bit then about how it looks for the MSP to provide it, like to provide security awareness training with Infima versus others, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, please.
So so we
you're
can
a straight man for my next question.
So we talked about what the end client experience looks like, where they're getting phished and their people are getting trained, and it is really low friction for them. And typically it actually is a little bit it's a positive experience. It's funny how many times we get emails from our partners or from end clients even who will respond to it's always a bounce address on some of these, that if they respond to things, it ultimately goes to a bounce address, but we do monitor them sometimes. And it's funny, I mean, the number of times we get memes and GIFs and things of people just like, man, I really messed up, but, just being a little bit playful about it because they realize, hey, that could have been bad. And right away when somebody clicks, we tell them like, hey, this could have been bad, but here's why it's okay, because it's a learning experience. And we even in those little nudges, sorry if I go back, if I can, just a little bit, I love the behavioral science. Even in those little nudges, Pete, when somebody on your team clicks on one of those phishing emails, obviously it wouldn't be you, so somebody else clicks on one of those phishing emails, hey, this could have been bad. Here's what could have happened. And it's intentionally done. The color scheme is intentional. The words are intentional. The way that it loads is, there's so many things that are intentional about it to make sure that we're trying to keep somebody's attention versus just like going and flashing red lights and telling you, you're terrible, Pete. You just put this organization at risk. Next time you could be the one that takes us down. That does not work. And punitive training does not work. So we do it in different ways. And so we've got lots of little nudges along the way. But what it looks like for the MSP is we say 3-click onboarding. Sounds ridiculous. It's true. So if you have a 365 client and a lot of people are migrating clients over to us. One of our best experiences that I like to highlight is somebody who's coming over from one of our large competitors. Rather than saying names on here, we'll just say one of the large competitors. And they had 52 different end clients on there. And so we tee it up. We set up a 2-hour onboarding call. And 90 minutes later, they've got 52 of their clients onboarded. We're talking thousands of users. And then fast forward, it's going well. They're liking us. So one of our marketers goes and does a testimonial with them. Said, hey, can we talk about onboarding? Because we're really obsessive about our onboarding experience. If we have a good onboard, then you reduce so many support ticket needs, so much frustration from the end client to the partner all the way through to us. And so we obsess over doing a white glove onboarding tool. And so it goes back and he's speaking with our relationship with our partner and saying, hey, how was the onboarding when you're using your previous vendor? And they said, oh, well, it took 1 to 2 hours to do it. And, as he's relaying this news to me after, I was like, all right, well, we were 90 minutes. We were right in between. And he stops me and he goes, no, that was 1 to 2 hours per client for 52 clients.
Oh, wow.
So with Infima, when they onboarded, it took 90 minutes, whereas with 1.5 hours, whereas with their prior vendor, they said it estimated between 50 to 100 hours just to do the onboarding. And then they said that was ongoing monthly just for management. And so, for reference, like ongoing, there isn't any management required. You can utilize our reports with QBRs or any kind of regular tag ups that you have with your partners. So that's a big step. Like I said, we obsess over the onboard. We even do internally, we work on 10-star experiences on the onboarding. And because we wanted to make it, we actually wanted to be a delight for partners to sell and deliver our service and not just another headache. And so that onboarding experience is very quick. We utilize, we're integrated with Microsoft and Google. With 3 clicks, you pull in all of the users, everybody's activated, and we take care of all of the whitelisting. So that, because at the end of the day, when we're phishing you, we're spamming you, and you would want the filters to pick that up. But instead, we go ahead and bypass that so that we can actually get valid tests. On an ongoing basis, partners are only charged for the amount they use. So it's the beginning of the month, it's per user per month. And there are no minimums, so you're not locked into something. In our user agreement, it doesn't say anything about disparagement. Instead, it just says be nice.
I was staying away from that. I was staying away from that, Joel.
But it literally be nice is in our partner agreement. We've only had to fire one partner because he really was not nice. But at the end of the day, so many of our partners, everybody starts in this business, the MSP business, because they actually like being either working for themselves or being able to build something themselves. And usually that's something that you want to have an enjoyable experience and not something where you're having to parse through every word of a contract and make sure that you're not getting hosed, out of left field. So we avoid that. So it's per user per month. As you onboard clients, as clients hire new people, their user counts go up, and as they fire, they go down. 2020 was a tough year for us until the end, where everybody ramped back up, and we got a whole bunch more partners, and we ended far higher than where we started, even though we had quite a bit of a drag, because you can imagine how many people were offloading talent at that time. But that's the risk that we take. Instead of handing it over to the partner and saying, hey, sign this and tell me that you're going to at least spend this much money on 1,000 seats this year, or 5,000 seats, or whatever it is. You know, where I hate paying for things that I don't get to use. I hate burning licenses myself, and we're never going to ask our partners to do the same thing. So on an ongoing basis, your billing is just month to month, and it's based on the actual clients in your database. We have integrations with ConnectWise and Datto, and always building others as there are needs. And we take care of all of the training, all of the phishing that's happening with your customers. Every single one of your clients is getting phished every single month. You don't have to touch a thing. And it's always with the best of what's out there in the wild. And we're recirculating that in. When it comes to training, we are always following what is the latest with the regulatory bodies, which again, it flows down initially from NIST. That's the highest level, and everybody sort of comes down from there. And we hit all of the things that that we are aware of out there. We've yet to come across something that we've not incorporated into our training in some capacity. That when somebody is onboarded, we ensure that it's in their training curriculum.
Yep. So Joel, one of the questions came in from Brian, and Brian, you're unmuted. You can certainly ask yourself, but Brian is saying, what's the company? What is the product?
I figured it out. I looked him up on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
I knew it wouldn't take you long.
Sorry, Brian. Yeah, we're Infima security. We do security awareness.
Infima.
Is there a minimum per client?
No, there isn't.
So I'm just going to kind of I'm going to bounce my screen up here for a second, because it's kind of interesting that I just did a quick search. And let me share this screen. I just did a quick search, and I just said security training news, and what comes up? Reduce human error cyber attacks with security training and partnerships, from Security Magazine 5 hours ago, right? India offers operational cybersecurity training to Philippines military. I mean, it goes in, right? That's 55 minutes ago. 5 days ago, you know, training required system-wide by January 31st for some executive policy out in Washington State University. So this is big. This is a big shift in, you know, there's a requirement versus just talking about it, right? It's something, you know, as we've said a couple times here, it's being required by third parties, but this looks like it's going to become more the norm than the exception, right? You know, I don't need it versus now I have to have it. So, you know, I guess what I'm hearing from you on what Infima provides and what I'm seeing in these headlines is, if you're not doing it, you've got some backup here in the news to show why you need to do it, and certainly Joel has showed us right now why you should be doing it also, right? So the news says it, required. So what do you think? Is there going to be other mandates coming, Joel, that you know of? Is there anything coming from Washington, guidance, or local states in their data protection and cyber laws? What do you see in that area?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's getting included more and more in any kind of requirement. But again, everything does flow down initially from NIST, because every one of these states, every one of these municipalities wants to have something, but they need to point to something. You know, they want to have something, some kind of requirement in place, but they need to point to something that they can stand on, and often that goes back to NIST. So there is more clarification that will be valuable, but as it is, you know, when you are talking, there are a whole host of topics that are addressed, that need to be addressed, and we make sure that those are addressed with our partners and for their end clients. I think there will be one, it will change as risks change. You know, for instance, there's far less focus on corrupted USB drives than there is on phishing, because there might have been a time when USB drives were a real risk, and that's just not the same anymore. Not that they can't be risky, but so often it's the ports are disabled, or it just isn't happening as much. So we are following what is both active in the news and what is being called out by regulators. And so, yeah, Pete, I mean, we're seeing it more and more. I think those requirements will come in more strongly, which makes it an easier thing to deliver for the MSP partner to say, hey, this is just simply required. And we also do provide we go through the compliance bodies across industries and say, great, you're in healthcare. HIPAA is very clear line, bright line. You know exactly what you need to do. Well, say you're a law firm. The ABA actually has writings on this where they give guidance, though they haven't put formal requirements down. They probably will put formal requirements down in time here. But even then, most law firms have in their engagement letters with any of their larger clients, at least they're going to have requirements for security awareness training internally. Similarly, the accounting, other professional services, AICPA for accounting has documented what their guidance is, but they have not formally required it yet. I think all of those things are going to become requirements sooner rather than later, Pete. And then to kind of loop back to what Brad Gross, far smarter than I, said, it is required just for a risk reduction for the MSP. And so without that, you start to have additional risks that are unnecessary for the partner to deliver or for the partner to take on.
All right. So, we really gotten into the topic. There's some things coming. What makes you different than your competitors?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. There's a lot in the space. We're friendly. There's some good people. We really love this partner community. Ultimately, what makes us different is for the partner on a day-to-day basis is the automation. When I go back to that example of onboarding 52 clients with one of our partners in 90 minutes, they were taking 50 to 100 hours monthly trying to keep up with it. That is just to try to keep up with it, Pete. Now, when we as you've been asking or mentioning and highlighting, is there are some regulatory requirements coming down the pipe. Well, now, if I've said, cool, we have security awareness training, I'm a partner, I'm an MSP, and I'm providing it for 52 of my clients. What happens when somebody forgot to onboard, the last 10 people who were hired at this 1,000-person company? If it's not automatically done, then you start to have a problem. If you've got a whole series of things that you have to onboard. If you forgot to do security awareness training, and that's one of those people is the one who clicks, that's a problem. So we have the full Google and Microsoft sync. So we take care of all of that user list, all of those changes. You add somebody into 365 tenant, they are added in same day into our platform. And then they're encouraged to catch up. When it comes to the actual delivering the phishing and the training, what happens when somebody forgot one of those organizations? This happens consistently. We have 52 clients, and the person who was managing one of them forgot to send phishing over the last year. They got compromised. The insurance company will come back and say, okay, were you doing security awareness training? You said you were on your application. Oh, well, you didn't phish anybody for the last year. There's actually a term, it's called subrogation, where the insurance company can go, instead of just denying the claim to the partner, to the end client, they can actually go upstream over to the partner. And there is more and more precedent there so that they can come back to the partner who had said, yeah, we're providing this to you, and then they did not do so. So we reduce that risk because we are fully automated. And so the partner doesn't have to worry about that. Partner onboards a client, syncs their 365 or Google, and all of those users are synced on a daily basis, multiple times a day on our side to ensure that we've got them. And they are automatically enrolled into the training program, and that training program for their organization, and they're phished and they're trained, and so the partner just doesn't have to think about it. We're taking something that is, in the case of the 50 client partner, we're taking something that was basically a full-time job for somebody with risks, with the concerns over liability if somebody made a misstep, and we're removing all of that. So you can.
I mean, that's huge that you can pull people in that quick too. I mean,
yeah,
52 clients in 90 minutes is,
we're proud of that one. And the ratio is actually a little bit better at a bigger size. We did 90 clients in 2 hours just recently as well. And so, at the end of the day, MSPs have a block of hours based on the number of people you have there that you can effectively sell. And you want to be able to sell, you want to be able to use those hours for as little as possible and be able to maximize revenue. If I'm selling you a tool that takes all of the management of a lot of the competitors in the space, you've got to go take all the time to curate and send all of the training, make sure everybody takes it, follow up with them. We do all the reminders automatically. Then you've got to go and you've got to build all these phishing templates, dozens per month, send them out to all of your clients, tee them up so that they go at different times and make sure that they were delivered. We ensure that they were delivered. Then you sometimes have to go and manually pull reporting. We take care of all of that reporting. You don't even have to pull a report and send it to your client. It's already white labeled, sent to your client from your email address, and you do not have to touch a thing. And so, Infima takes steps back. There, it is just the partner who is standing up front, and we make it so that you don't have to you don't have to lift a finger. And ultimately, that is the type of thing that allows MSPs to actually leverage their organization and leverage their relationship to improve their margins. And without that, it's not a business, unfortunately.
So simplicity and ease of doing business is good. Well, listen, Joel, we have a couple minutes left, and I've got some announcements to wrap up here at the end. But how does an MSP engage with you guys? How do they get to you? Is there a demo program? Is there some kind of what does that look like from how do they engage?
Yeah, so the easiest way, you can go to our website, infimasec.com, and set up a demo. I'm also going to put in a link here in the chat for anybody who wants it. That goes directly to Zach Carter, who runs our partner program. He runs our partner sales effort, and the demo is anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. Because again, since we're fully automated, we try to make every part of the process as painless as possible. And to one of the questions that we don't have any minimums, and we have a really simple contract. So our turnaround time ends up being really quick, and then it allows you to just start, either selling to your existing or to rolling in, however you decide to do it, and ultimately try to make it so that it's streamlined and very simple and easy. So I'll put that link in, but it starts with a demo that is 15 to 30 minutes. And, usually it's 1 or 2 calls, and you can make your decision from there.
Cool. Now I always ask the critic, Darren's still hanging on here and he's muted, but I'm going to ask Darren. So Darren, what you heard today, how was your experience on onboarding? Does it hold true with everything? Did you get that 10 stars?
For what he's claiming it to be?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, I can't complain. I complain about plenty. We could be complaining about what happened with something else this last few days, but no, this is good. This was very good.
Good. Great feedback. See, Joel, the way that you can always win Darren over is just Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, you can.
And as long as it's Chick-fil-A or Boston Market, you might be in good shape.
That is correct.
So, well, good. Well, so where are you guys going to be? What's coming up between now and the end of the year for you guys, other than hanging out at the party with us and strong arming a couple drinks up to your mouth?
That's right. Yeah. So we'll be at Next Gen, which is coming up here soon in 2 weeks here in Orlando, where we're based, and we'll be with everybody at IT Nation, also conveniently here in Orlando. And so that's what we have for the rest of the year with our conference circuit. We've got maybe 1 or 2 webinars also that we'll be participating in. But easiest way, I just posted in there in the chat a direct link to set up a demo, and you're able to rock and roll, very quickly from there. And we like to earn those stars. Perfect.
All right. Well, Joel, I appreciate you joining me today. I had to jump in last minute too, because like I said, George was going to be flying. I think he's probably on his way to the airport if he's not already there, getting ready to go through typical George TSA. There will be a good story from George for TSA, I'm sure. There always is. But I really appreciate you coming on and joining us today, being a sponsor of the things that we do here at MSP Initiative. For those of you that are on, you know the normal, but I'm going to do what we always do, and I am going to bring up, and of course, where is my screen that is going to bring up what I am? Okay, here we go. So I'm sharing my screen again. Here's
Yeah,
your
great.
website. It's probably tiny because I have this big 50-inch, 55-inch monitor. So it's big for me and small for everybody else.
Give us a
So
refresh so that they can see the starter graphic there. The kind of if you can.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's not cooperating with me, Joel.
Okay.
So
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
But as I flip over here, I believe everybody should be able to see our MSPI party page now, or are we still on
Yeah.
the other page? And, you know, you can go in here, you can register Icon Park, November 9th, 9 o'clock. If you're going to IT Nation, the buses will be a little bit of a walk down the street, but they'll be down on the street corner, and we'll be busing all night from the entrance into Rose and Shingle Creek and then back. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We have some sponsors out there that are sponsoring some of these different things that go on. If you wanted to see a prior party, here's one. Some of our sponsors are here. We're doing a major update this afternoon, so you're going to see this list almost double. Your favorite partners are going to be on this page here this afternoon. So, you know, oh, my screen flickered.
Yeah, it looks good now. Yeah, it actually
Oh,
is.
let me see. Maybe I can.
There we go.
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
There's Joel's graphic going in.
But yeah, it's kind of fun. We just show, it's a fun little graphic because it's showing, a lot of competitors. There's a lot of work, and we just remove it. So
Yep.
Fun little illustration. So yeah.
Yep. So if you go to mspinitiative.com and go to the community block parties down to Orlando, you can go in and request your tickets. You do need to register. We will be rolling out on social media and via email a contest that you can win some party gear. You can win some albums or T-shirts, some that might be signed by the band, and a grand prize. If you're present, you might actually get to meet the band. But there are some things you got to register. You got to like our post. You got to share the post. And if you name a colleague in your post, you get extra points. So we will be looking and finding, our favorites for who's going to come out and do this. Now, the other thing that we have at MSPI or MSP Initiative throughout is we have the Channel Strong tours, and a lot of people have heard them, and it's like, you show up with a bus, but we show up with a bus with your top vendors, and we're getting ready here on the 17th to show up in Las Vegas. We all come around. These are bus riders here that are coming from different companies that are on right now. PAX 8, BVoIP, MSP Initiative will be there. Myself, PAX 8, Solutions Granted. We have Zorus, who doesn't ride, but Zorus is a partner, and all of these partners have sent information or are available to just have conversation, not necessarily a sales pitch. Peers come out, other MSPs. So it's a way to do local peer sharing. I feel sneezes again. It's got me all congested. So great peer sharing and all that. So again, if you go to mspinitiative.com, or actually you can go to channelstrongtour.com and get right to this page, and you can sign up for any of these locations. And Joel, we're going to be down your neck of the woods back in December, the beginning at the end of November, December. We're in that Florida leg and then the final leg of the year.
Yeah.
I personally pull my toy hauler with my race car that has all our sponsors that have contributed to support the team. So it's a lot of fun, and we have a great time on the bus, getting out to meet everybody, share with everybody, and a lot of peer sharing experiences of other people's knowledge. I think there's just so much value in that. The biggest thing is it's local to you. So you don't have to travel too far to go to a conference, right? You get out of it what you ask. If you want to go mingle and you got these channel experts, go in and do it. So it's 2:00. And our time today is up. I do appreciate you again, Joel. I look forward to seeing you in Orlando, and maybe some more of you in the audience. We'll see you out there too. I'm sure we will. And I hope everybody has a great day. So
Thank you, Pete.
thank you.
We'll see you.
All righty. Bye now.